Hi, welcome to Talking Books and Stuff, the program that talks all about books and writing and stuff. Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
And this is Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. Dennis Rimmer here, talking today with Catherine Gourdier. The book is Breathe, Cry, Breathe, From Sorrow to Strength in the Aftermath of Sudden Tragic Loss. And we'll get to the meaning of that title in a moment. But first of all, Catherine, thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
And thank you for your interest in my story.
And again, I thank you for your persistence in tracking me down and finding me and making the appointment, because I kept forgetting. Sorry about that. Catherine, before we get to the story, which is very uplifting and yet heartbreaking at the same time, tell us about your early life. Where did you grow up and go to school, that type of thing?
Well, I was born and raised in Kingston, Ontario. I'm the eldest of 8 siblings of a Catholic family. I left Kingston just shy of 18, actually, to go to Toronto to go to college. I was in sales and marketing for 15, 16 years, and then I followed my dream of working in the film business and worked as a second assistant director and a producer for about 20 years.
And also a story editor, I understand. What exactly is a story editor, by the way?
Oh, the story editor. I was helping with editing a couple of scripts. That's why I put the story editor credit on there.
I've got another question about show business. What is a showrunner, actually?
A showrunner. I've never worked with a showrunner, but a showrunner is like manages they're mostly in TV series.
Right.
It's
So when you were a youngster, did you do much writing and reading on your own?
Constantly. Trixie Belden, Nancy Drew, all of those. And yes, I started writing, journaling. I'm trying to think. I was maybe 10, 11 years old when I got my first diary, the kind with the teeny little lock. And, lots of stories about boys, meeting boys at the cottage or at school.
And then you put it off, as you say, for a long time, marketing and sales and then the movie industry. But the story we're getting to right now is called Breathe, Cry, Breathe. It's your first book. And we'll just start off by saying, as Julie and her parents were walking home from church, they were hit by a car driven by an 84-year-old woman. So can you relive those moments for us? What happened next?
Well, so that night, we were planning a surprise birthday party for Julie, and most of my family had arrived. It was a horror-themed party, and we're dressed in costumes, and we were anticipating their arrival any minute when instead we got a phone call saying that my mother had been hit by a car. My husband and I, in our full zombie attire, rushed to the accident site, which was about a 10-12 minute drive away. The ambulance had come and gone already, but there we learned that Julie had been struck as well. And then she had severe brain damage, and we had to let her go the next day, and so that her organs could be donated.
And your mother passed away as a result of the same incident?
Oh, yes. My mother died probably at the scene.
And then the doctor comes in and all he says is she's dead. Is that how it went?
Yes. He said, sorry, I don't know their names. And I said, the eldest one is our mother. Wanita, and the youngest one is Julie. And, well, Wanita is dead, and that's just how we got the news.
That's sort of a matter of fact, to say the least.
Yes, yes, that's like the bedside manner of the doctor on Grey's Anatomy, the Sandra Oh character. Her bedside manner was not very good either. But to not just preface by saying, "I'm very sorry to give you this news, but," or something, or "we tried our best," or just like.
And the book is called Breathe, Cry, Breathe, Catherine Gourdier. So that was about what, the late 2010s, 2008 or so that this happened?
It happened November 7th, 2009. And I started writing the book after my executor duties were finished, and we sold the house. So I took myself to the lake and started writing at the end of April 2010, just sitting on my own, because my siblings didn't want to talk about it, and they were all grieving in their own way. And so to let out my feelings, I had to write about it. They all have children, and as well, to keep them occupied, and I don't have children of my own, and my husband's children were already grown and not living with us anyway.
So that was 10, 11 years ago. So why did you choose to chronicle those events in a book for the whole world to see and read?
Well, it wasn't, I didn't expect it to be a book to begin with, but as I saw different therapists, 3 of the therapists suggested that I should write a book to help other people. My neuromodulation technique therapist said, I think this would really help a lot of people. It also promotes what she does, but she helped me tremendously. She even helped me heal a sore shoulder that I'd had that was so bad I wasn't able to swim for 3 years. So we worked on the shoulder besides my grief with my sessions with Deborah Frenette. And then one of my mediums also suggested that maybe I should write about it because it could help other people. And I became a bit of a medium addict. I know a lot of people call it hocus pocus, or they don't believe it, but the ones that don't believe it have never seen a good one, or have never heard messages that nobody else could know.
Well, that's the thing about mediums, yes, and I'm not advocating one position or another, but I guess if you wanted to be sort of a fake medium, it would be easy enough to pull off, right? You would just say things like, your loved one, did you lose someone recently? Yes. Oh, well, your loved one is telling us that he or she is very happy, and all this kind of stuff.
So Dennis, here's the thing. The good ones don't ask you questions. As a matter of fact, Veronica Hart, the medium in Kingston, would say, don't, and so did Jay McKenzie. You don't ask questions, and they don't want to ask you questions. They just wait. So if they're asking questions, they're not really good mediums.
Uh-huh.
And the other reason, I've been getting beautiful surprises every 2 or 3 days in my email or on my Facebook Messenger from readers thanking me for writing this book and how it's helped them, from strangers and friends alike. I got a beautiful letter from a young man out in BC on the weekend, and he wrote a poem thanking me. It was like he was making me cry.
Oh no! The book is Breathe, Cry, Breathe. Just make a note of that, dear listener. Catherine Gourdier, and you start off like in the preface or forward, talk about an early funeral when you were 8 or 9 and some boys that you knew from school. Why did you decide to put that into the book?
I put it at the beginning because it was, I attended a double funeral when I was 8 years old, and then how would I know I was going to be attending another double funeral in my adulthood? Like, that's why. Like, whoever thinks that they're ever going to attend 2 double funerals in one lifetime?
Exactly. I've been to maybe.
And also a crowd. It was also the shock. I mean, they were my friends. I rode to school with them most days, and had a crush on David, the blonde with the freckles, and so it's a shock. It was a shock too. And being young, I guess my body wasn't strong enough, and so I fainted at their funeral, watching the caskets being rolled up the aisle. And again, when you're writing, I just remembered it. It came to me.
And the book is Breathe, Cry, Breathe by Catherine Gourdier, and it's very detailed. And I'm wondering, how did you remember all the stuff that's in your book, like the way the rooms looked and conversations that went on, and it seems to me that it was just like you're telling us a story right moments after all of these events took place. Okay, well, 2 things. One, as far as the lounge in the hospital, I went back to the hospital afterwards and took a photo of it, and it was after I took some writing sessions, at Kingston Writers Fest and with the Creative Nonfiction Collective at their conferences, because I didn't write as much description. I just wrote very directly in what happened. So I went back and I looked at photos of my sister's room to put in the details. I looked at photos of our house to put the details in. And as far as the dialogue, most of it is as I remembered it. There are some lines like my father saying, "How good does a person have to be for bad things to stop happening to them?" Like, I couldn't, like when he lost his wedding ring, and then 2 weeks after, like that, I distinctly remember him saying that to me. And your father passed away just shortly after this incident? Yes, 6 weeks after the funeral. And it's, I know it's a traumatic time, but it's almost actually not funny, but it's sort of comical, because you're all at the hospital in the emergency room and the family room with your Halloween costumes on. So that must have been such a... Not everybody put them on. Some of them, I know one of them at least showered and changed, but I didn't care. My husband and I just dashed. I wanted to get to that accident site as soon as possible. Some of them had, like smeared makeup on, but had their clothes on. That I can't, I can't remember distinctly. Dad wasn't made up, of course, but yeah, I know some of them were, definitely. And you've got some photos in the book too. Was it difficult deciding to put those pictures in the finished product? Oh no, I was very proud to show them off, and I've had readers say they loved that, and they also said they would flip back and forth from reading the book and then going to my website. I have another 30 or 35 photos on my website. And what is the website? What's the website, by the way, just to remind us all? It's CatherineGourdier.com. And Gourdier Catherine is... Gourdier. Yeah. Gourdier. Or I think if you Google Breathe, Cry, Breathe, it should come up. Exactly. And how did the family dynamics change after the funerals and the passing of your mother, your sister, and your father, all within, like you said, 6 weeks of each other? Did anything change in the way your siblings related to one another?
Well, yes, as I mentioned, everybody pretty much grieved on their own. I mean, we all emptied the house together. That was actually a fun thing to do. There was a lot of laughter that weekend. But since then, no, my sisters don't like me talking about it, and very sadly, they haven't spoken to me since I told them my book was getting published. I mean, never in a million years did I think HarperCollins would be publishing my first book, but they are, and I do know that they were aware I was writing because of the land of Facebook. I guess they just never thought it would really happen.
Well, gotcha. And we're talking with Catherine Gourdier about Breathe, Cry, Breathe, her very first book published by HarperCollins, as you said. What did you learn about yourself when you were writing this book? I guess it took over 10 years, so almost 10 years. So did you learn lots about yourself?
Well, I guess I learned that I'm not as strong as I pretend to be. That's one thing that I did learn. I am a pretty strong person, and being the eldest of 8, you're kind of thrown into that position.
Oh yes,
being the first one to babysit, change diapers when you're 10.
The big sister in more ways than one.
Yeah. But it has helped me, to slow down more, and treat each day not like it's your last, but just, if somebody calls and says, "Hey, do you want to come over for a drink today?" Even if I'm busy, I'll fit it in, because, like, what if I don't hear from that person again? And
That's right.
And I could have gone to see her.
Yeah. On a lighter note, your mother was fascinated with show business and movie stars, and you talk about going to Hollywood and New York City, and she just worms her way into a party, and you walk past the security to meet. There's Ewan McGregor. I'm going to go over and say hello to him.
Yeah. She did right ahead of me. She didn't even wait for me. and Richard Gere. She got her picture taken with Richard Gere on the Amelia set, too, and she loved showing that photograph.
Oh, right, because you worked on Chicago with the movie.
And she actually met him. She met him twice. We met him on the Chicago set and the jail set, and then she got her picture with Hilary Swank and Richard Gere on the Amelia set in Toronto as well.
Speaking of Hilary Swank, just to, sort of throw in a personal note, I used to live in Bellingham, Washington. My daughter was Hilary Swank's math tutor in high school.
Oh, wow.
At least that's what she tells us.
Small world.
Yep, and I've always been fascinated with the Amelia Earhart's story, and I saw that movie, and I liked it. That no one will ever know the actual outcome of the flight, I guess. But another interesting note, there's a small town, an hour or so away from us, Cut Knife, Saskatchewan. They have a museum, and in the museum is Amelia Earhart's bridesmaid's dress from her wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like you say, another small world.
I was obsessed with that movie. I was the development assistant director. So I did the early shooting schedules, and I got to go on the location scouts, including to South Africa. And Hilary Swank was just a lovely, lovely woman.
Oh, good. That's good to hear, because I never met her. She took off from Bellingham when she was like mid-teens, I think. Yes, and your father was fascinated with all the Lockheed Electra planes. How did you find those planes?
No, my uncle.
Oh, your uncle.
My mother. Yes, my uncles.
Right.
They were recreated. The recreated planes.
Right. I always liked the looks of those planes. They look just terrific. I wish they still had them. I mean, why not? They should have thousands of them flying around just like that. They look so good.
Yeah.
Catherine Gourdier is with us. Breathe, Cry, Breathe is the book. It's a memoir, From Sorrow to Strength in the Aftermath of Sudden Tragic Loss. Do you have any secrets you can pass along to writing a good memoir?
Yes, speak the truth. Don't make anything up. If you think of something you want to say, don't be afraid. Share it with your readers, because no matter what you say, like I've had so many people say, "Oh, that's exactly how I felt," or "Thank you for letting me know how my other sisters might have felt," because we all grieve differently. And like I do say things not for shock value, but just because I was shocked. There were things that I said in there, like describing my mother's deceased body.
Right, with the sheet pulled down around below her shoulders, and not having any teeth.
It's just, but for them to show us our mother like that.
Oh yeah.
What?
Well, I kind of know what you mean, because when my father had a heart attack and passed away 21 years ago, I got there too late, and he's sitting up in the hospital bed with his mouth open, and I thought, couldn't they have at least closed his mouth? So, oh well. What do you hope?
Yeah.
What do you hope to accomplish with the book, Breathe, Cry, Breathe?
I hope that I'm going to continue to receive letters from my readers saying how much the book is helping them. It helped me just writing it, so if I can continue to help others that are grieving, then that's my goal.
And
I received another letter this morning too, from a woman whose young son, I think he was 33, died of an aneurysm, and she's halfway through the book, and she's like thanking me for writing this book. So they don't feel alone in the sudden loss world. And sudden loss is harder. Sudden loss is harder than being able to hold on to your parents' hands. If they're lying in a hospital bed with cancer, and you get to say goodbye. They're in pain though, but you get to say goodbye for weeks or months.
I always thought that. I haven't experienced, I guess so. A sudden death, would seem to be much more harder to take than something you knew was happening. You didn't want it to happen, but you knew it was going to happen, so you kind of get adjusted as the days go by. But having it happen just out of the blue, wow, what a shock. Can you give us your website one more time? It's
CatherineGourdier.com. Catherine, CaTherine, Gourdier, GOURDIER.com.
And I want to thank you very much for telling your story to us, and hope lots of people who are in need of some sort of help, assistance, reassurance can pick up Breathe, Cry, Breathe, From Sorrow to Strength in the Aftermath of Sudden Tragic Loss. Catherine, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Bye for now.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.